Now, to the second part of this question, George is asking, will Disney reduce the amount of fireworks when Disneyland Forever returns, since it's one of their most expensive shows? Now, Dre, I'll start with you. What's your prediction on this? Do you think they're going to cut back?
Almost assuredly. I mean, they've cut back on every single show that they've brought back so far, and some of that is not even motivated by cost, not necessarily. Some of it's motivated by just supply chain issues. From what I understand, they're having problems with shells, getting them in on a frequent enough basis in order to provide the kind of entertainment that they're used to. I guess things are still affecting China as we speak. There are still big ferries or whatever on the coast of California right now with merchandise waiting to get onto port. So those supply chain issues are having kind of an effect on this. We just heard recently, actually, Walt Disney World was testing out shells. Late night or whatever, and some of that has to do with that. They're trying out new shells that are a little bit more sustainable for them to actually keep up their effects and so forth, and switch out pyro. And honestly, we've seen this before, even with Remember Dreams Come True. Remember the whole Big Thunder Mountain segment that used to be there, and that was cut, I think, like 2 or 3 years after that show debuted, because those specific pyrotechnics were very, very expensive. So I would almost assuredly they're going to change this out. We saw it with Happily Ever After. And I think we might see it with Disneyland Forever as well.
And one thing that really makes me mad, and I don't know, maybe I'm just being insensitive, but like I don't know, I haven't heard of it a lot lately, but for years you always hear like of the residents around the resort, like people living in the Anaheim area. They kind of put pressure on Disney, like, oh, the fireworks are going off every night and it's too loud. I'm like, come on. You move next to Disneyland and you're going to be mad that there's fireworks. It's not like this place has popped up overnight,
Yeah.
For all those people complaining about that, you have the flip side of every business and every Airbnb rental, every restaurant. They're pushing the exact opposite. They're pushing more and more fireworks, because the more they can advertise that, they can jack their rooms up by $50. They can jack their Airbnb up by $100, by saying fireworks view. So I'm sure the city of Anaheim's getting feedback on both sides pretty heavily.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I mean, we saw that new hotel open up just across the way from Disneyland, right? I think it's the Westin.
Yep.
And they have a fireworks viewing platform right up there that I believe you have to make reservations for or whatever. But those are becoming features and assets as in part of the proximity of the Anaheim area. So,
we have. I mean, I'm not going to speak to historical accuracy of this, but there's now 5 rooftop bars within the Anaheim Resort, non-Disney. And I'm pretty sure there's only like 1 or 2 a couple years ago, because you had the Radisson Blue that just opened in 2020. They added theirs. The Westin just added theirs. And then you have the Grand Legacy at the park, which is right off of Harbor there, that has theirs. So, I mean, they're popping up everywhere, and they're touting fireworks views. I mean, that's their main selling point. So,
is JW Marriott included in that?
JW Marriott also has one. Yeah, they're a little bit farther away, but that's actually the only one I haven't been to yet. But yeah, they're touting it as well. Yep.
Wow. There you go. Well, they're going to go, they're going to go where the money is, So, yeah, the residents can complain all they want, but if all the hotels are wanting it and Disney makes money on it and everyone's making money on it, they're not going anywhere, That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, too, that Dre made, because obviously I would agree that they're probably going to reduce it, but I kind of agree with Dre. I don't think it's because it's of the price. I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm sure Disney's ready to get these prices down, but I think it's more a supply issue than anything because Disneyland fireworks are so insanely expensive. Even when you're buying in the bulk sizes that Disney does, it's still an incredibly expensive thing to put on, and they haven't let up. I mean, they were closed for a year, and they're still, they've been back with Mickey's Mixed Magic for a while. So I personally don't think it's because of the cost. I think it's because of the shortages in supplies, but I guess we'll see over time with that.
But then that also goes back to what we were talking about before with them saying that Disneyland is only 50%, open, where next year it should be at 100%. With everything is in a uncertainty at this point in time, and everything is out of whack because of COVID. So I do agree with Dre in that sense that it'd probably just be a supply issue, because I mean, when it comes to money, I feel as though Disney loves to I don't even think Disney loves to complain about money, but it's just like Disney has the money for it. Like that, I don't think that should ever be an issue, especially if you look at the quarter runnings of how much they've been making ever since they've been back open. So that's definitely not. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's like you said, it's probably true.
Yeah, well, Dre should touch on this more too, but the logistics of having a fireworks show at night draws so many more guests to the later hours of the park. I mean, we saw with, you could see on social media when the parks reopened and there was no nighttime spectacular, crowds are leaving so early. And that's even with the reservation system in place. Yeah. And so I think the finances, I mean, just drawing people later into the night, Disney's, I'm assuming they're thinking they're breaking even at worst anyways. So, but
you have to understand that that's kind of Disney's staple. If you look at a commercial, if you look at anything, it's always involving fireworks. So that's their draw. Like that nighttime spectacular is that's their thing. So I feel like they need to go all out for this, or they need to go all in for it, because that's like what Sean said. It draws crowds, and that's what draws crowds.
It's an interesting point because, as Sean astutely pointed out, fireworks are very heavily related to, guest stay and how long they actually stay in the parks and how long you can draw them out. But to capitalize on that, assuming you need cast members and facilities to be open, and we're having problems with restaurants and stuff at Disneyland. Hopefully they can overcome those issues by the time these fireworks actually come back, because, I mean, that might be a real issue here.
Well, and I think also, too, you could also argue to the point where they may not cut the fireworks back completely. They may just reduce it back then to what it was full capacity, because you also have to think too, but I do agree with all of you. First off, I have to say I think it's more of a supply thing than cost. But speaking for Walt Disney World, they also had some incidents where buildings were actually catching on fire, primarily behind the new Fantasyland, because you'd have the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train that caught on fire, and then just most recently, Journey to the Little Mermaid building caught on fire. So you have that notion, and then for Disneyland, when Toontown reopens, when you have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, because they used to close that area down for when they would do the fireworks, so they're going to want to keep that open as much as possible. Right. So how do you capitalize on that land plus still have a nighttime spectacular? You reduce down to the fireworks. So they may kind of start it out where it's less, where they may push it, further down once they work out all the kinks. I think they're going to do that more so, again, with the supply and demand, but also to the fact of the surroundings of what the park's going to become in the future.
We might actually see a B mode now with Toontown being open, and if those Santa Ana winds don't blow in the right direction, maybe necessarily cutting back on specific pyro, that could be problematic in its own right. Having
it'll be interesting to see because sorry, Dre.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because a lot of the firework cannons have already been moved to the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway building. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they're even going to change. The show's going to have to change already a bit just from practicality of launching. So we'll see how that plays out to George's point.